Well, today, a pivotal hearing in the immigration case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia that could determine whether he will be deported to Liberia. He has an American wife and children, and he has lived in Maryland for years with his wife, but he immigrated to the U.S. without the proper documentation. The Maryland man was wrongly deported, though, back in March to his home country of El Salvador and held in a mega prison, creating a major political flashpoint. Court filings state that immigration judges granted him protections from being deported there due to a well-founded fear of violence. Now, officials saying that deportation was an administrative error. He was then returned to the U.S. to face human smuggling charges stemming from a 2022 traffic stop. In this body camera footage, you can see that there. He was charged in Tennessee, but when he was released, he was detained by ICE again. Today's hearing focusing in on whether officials can deport Abrego Garcia to the African country of Liberia, or whether his preferred country of removal, Costa Rica, could still be on the table there. Now, there are still questions surrounding whether certain documents and orders in the case even exist as well. DC News Now's Randy Bass joining us live outside the federal courthouse in Greenbelt with more on this. Randy, what are you learning?
Yes, Annalisa, no ruling or decisions coming out of the courtroom today from Judge Paulazinis, but it was a very long hearing, very detailed hearing, lasting about 4 hours from the morning into the afternoon here, centering on whether there is an actual final order of removal for Kilmar Abrego Garcia, whether that document exists, and whether the United States government can deport him to the country of Liberia, or if they could still deport him to the country of Costa Rica. More on that in a moment. Both the government and Abrego Garcia his team agree that final order of removal does not formally exist, but the government says a withholding of removal order from several years ago that does exist implies a final order of removal too. His team of attorneys says no final order of removal means no grounds to hold him and that he needs to be released. Another big part of today's update in court today came from testimony delivered to the courtroom. ICE Acting Assistant Director of Enforcement and Removal Operations John Cantu testified today. Following his testimony, the judge said he, quote, knew nothing about anything and that she found it extremely troubling. Cantu testified that parts of a declaration he signed regarding Abrego Garcia's possible removal to Costa Rica was partially drafted and written by someone else, and that he didn't know what parts of it meant, and that he has no direct or independent knowledge of whether Costa Rican officials actually changed their tune and would no longer accept him. Cantu testified that he has only been on the job for 3.5 weeks, and he has had no direct involvement in the Abrego Garcia case until he signed off on that declaration earlier this month. And when it comes to sending Abrego Garcia to Liberia, as the government wants to do, Cantu told the court he has seen a, quote, diplomatic note from the country saying that they will accept him, that they will not persecute him or torture him, and that they will not send him back to his home country of El Salvador, where he fears those very things, persecution and torture there. The judge today says many of the decisions that will eventually come out of her courtroom depend on whether that final order of removal actually exists. And so as the next few days and weeks go on, we'll be looking for those decisions to come down from Judge Zenas deciding whether he ultimately can be deported to either of those countries or whether he will ultimately be released from federal custody. In Greenbelt, I'm Randy Bass, DC News Now.